Hey, everybody, it's Dr. Sean Tassone, America's Holistic Gynecologist and author of the Hormone Balance Bible, which you can get on Amazon right now. Breaks down the top 12 female hormone imbalances and gives you 5 ways that you can change those imbalances on your own without the help of a physician, which are going to put me out of business. No, I'm just kidding. What I wanted to do today was go live and talk about the top 5 supplements that I recommend for women's health. I know that supplements are kind of a confusing topic for a lot of women. They can cause a lot of grief. People are just trying things willy-nilly and really not getting the answers that they want. So what are the top 5 supplements that I recommend for women's health, regardless of where you're at? And when I say regardless, obviously this is not medical advice because I don't know you in particular, but I would say if I had to look at 1,000 patients, probably 95% of these women could benefit by taking these 5 supplements. And these are in no particular order, although I will say far and away, number one that I always use, number one, is Maca. Maca is a root plant from Peru that um, basically there are 13 different types of maca that are made or that are grown in Peru. And usually it has to be grown in Peru. There's 13 different phenotypes. And it also depends on where the maca is actually grown, in what soil. And so the problem with maca is when you get these powders that you can buy, maca as a powder, you don't know actually what's in it. Like they powder it up years and years ago, about 6 years ago. Big Chinese company came in and bought most of the maca that was available in Peru at the time. And then they took it back and they pulverized it and made it into a powder. And they added things to it so that it would go farther. The problem with that is when you get a powder, I don't actually know what's in it. And probably neither do the people that are making these supplements, to be perfectly honest. And I would say that's true with any supplement. If it's a powder, you just really never know. So keep that in mind. About a year after that, a company called Symphony came in and they bought the land where the maca was grown so that other companies couldn't come in and buy the products. They pay the farmers fair wages and things like that. And it's a very conscientious company. It's called Symphony. The product that they have is called Feminescence. Now, the interesting thing about maca also, certain phenotypes treat certain disease processes, like certain ones will treat PCOS or infertility or irregular periods, while others are better for menopause. And then even others are better for male type issues. So the last thing you'd want to do as a woman is take the maca root that might have more androgenic benefits. You want to use the one that's for women. So Feminescence has different formulations where you can do postmenopausal, perimenopausal Maca Life, which is good for PCOS and other things. And then they have a supplement for men. So Maca, interestingly enough, it won't necessarily raise or lower your hormone levels, but think of Maca as the grout in between the tiles in your bathroom. Maca can help hold the hormones together, make them work a little bit better. And to be perfectly honest, the company at Symphony, they have a lot of research on their website, but the exact mechanism of action of maca isn't really known. But I can tell you, after using this stuff for 5 to 6 years, I have so many patients that do well with the maca. It is a medicinal strength product, so you have to ease yourself into it. Start with a capsule a day, work yourself up to maybe 4 if you can do that. But I do find a lot of women have great success with maca, and they do extremely well. Number 2, I'm a big fan of omega-3 fatty acids. Now, unless you get a lot of that in your diet, you're eating, an avocado a day, you're eating a lot of fish, whatever it is, I would consider using an omega-3 fatty acid supplement. And I would probably use something in between 1 to 2 grams a day. My current 2 favorite products that are out there, I like Nordic Naturals Pro Omega. Sometimes what happens when you take a fish supplement is that you get the fish burps, and nobody hates those. Everyone hates the fish burps. So what happens is they'll stop taking it. If you wanted to use the fish oil, if you put it in the freezer, you will notice when you swallow it, it won't digest in your stomach. It'll get into your intestines. So you usually don't get the burp. So you can always freeze those capsules. I'm also a fan of Orlo Nutrition. Now, the reason that fish get such high in fat is because they eat algae. So they get a lot of their benefit from algae, and Orlo is algae-based omega-3 fatty acids. So they just went back up or down the food chain, however you wanted to look at it, and they made their product from algae. So for people that are, vegan, or they don't like the idea of eating animals, vegetarian, this is a good option because it's not an animal-based product. It's a very sustainable product as well. They have lots of studies. It's hydroponics and it's grown in Iceland, I believe. Really cool. Also has the effects of the phytochemicals. It's a blue algae. So they've actually got products that they're marketing now where the algae is used in pizza doughs. And I think they've even used it in beer. I mean, it's really an interesting product. But the company itself, Orlo, is a great company. And so for those of you that want to try a good omega-3, and why do I like omega-3s? Well, one, cholesterol is where your hormones come from. That's how you make hormones, is from cholesterol. And I feel like we're so afraid of fat in society. I think it's getting better, but we're still having some fear based around the idea of cholesterol. So it's a good cholesterol. It's where your hormones come from. Also, women that do higher amounts of fish oil actually have less bleeding and pain in their cycle. And it's because of the way that the fish oil pushes the effects of prostaglandins down a different pathway. And not to get into all the biochemistry part, but suffice it to say, women that I have come in to my office that have heavy, painful periods, I'll put them on a high dose of fish oil, and it usually improves. Doesn't make it go away, but it definitely improves it. Which leads me to my current third product that I like, and that is magnesium. There's a lot of magnesium on the market. Magnesium comes in many forms: oxide, glycinate, threonate. There's all different kinds of magnesium. The good one, or a good one to start with, is magnesium glycinate, because it has less GI distress. Things like magnesium glycinate is usually less GI than magnesium citrate. Magnesium citrate is what we use preoperative cleaning out your colon or for your colonoscopy. So it can cause diarrhea if you take too much. And for some people, they don't like the bubble guts. They don't like this, mag-threonate is better for the brain. So more so for sleep, but magnesium glycinate is good for the entire body. And usually somewhere between 400 to 800 milligrams a day is a good dose for most people. Obviously, can't give you specific recommendations. Magnesium should also be relatively inexpensive. Sometimes these companies will do this tri-mag thing where they'll put all the magnesiums together and they'll jack the price up to $40. Doesn't have to be that expensive. Should be somewhere between $10 and $20. As I said, a good dose is probably between 400 and 800 milligrams a day. If you take too much, you could have loose stools. So that's a good way to know. So the first three: Maca in the form of feminescence, omega-3s, magnesium glycinate. Number 4 is I've been really putting a lot of women lately on dihydroberberine. Dihydroberberine is a metabolite of berberine, which a lot of women use berberine. The problem with berberine is maybe sometimes less than 1% of it gets absorbed. Dihydroberberine has about 5 times the bioavailability and absorption as berberine. So I have switched to dihydroberberine around 100 to 200 milligrams a day. The product that I like currently is from a company called Endurance Products, and it's because they don't have anything else in the supplement. It's literally just dihydroberberine. And anybody that listens to me for more than 5 minutes knows that I am a supplemental purist. I am somebody that tends to shy away from proprietary products, meaning things that are mixed, a lot of mixed, grab bag, because one, that way they don't have to tell you exactly what's in it. 2, the problem is they can't put enough of one thing into the capsule because otherwise the pill would be the size of your head. So they have to limit the amount. So you might not be getting a maximum dosage. And so I would recommend dihydroberberine. I use endurance products. Out of all the supplements I'm recommending, dihydroberberine is probably the most expensive. Now, why do I recommend it? Well, most women that are perimenopause and menopause tend to have that extra 5 to 15 pound weight gain across the middle of their abdomen, and they hate it. And they are not necessarily wanting to lose, 20 or 30 pounds because they don't have that much. Dihydroberberine can help you lose about 5% body weight, which for some people can be 5 to 10 pounds, which is great. It also has anti-inflammatory effects. It will lower cholesterol. And it helps lower blood sugar and control insulin a little bit better. Mice that have been given berberine, not dihydroberberine, but berberine, mice that have been given berberine had 30% more longevity. Whether or not that would transfer into humans, I don't know. The thing about berberine, the one downside of dihydroberberine is it can affect the way that you absorb vitamin B12. So I would usually recommend either being on a B12 supplement or cycling off the berberine every 3 months, dihydroberberine, and taking about 3 weeks off and then going back on it. The great thing is the endurance products bottle they sell they have a 3-month supply bottle. And so once the bottle's gone, I usually just tell people take a few weeks off and then you can go back on it. So we got maca, we've got fish oil, we've got magnesium, we've got dihydroberberine. Number 5 is kind of a toss up. The reality is there are so many things out there you could supplement with, and I would be remiss without recommending vitamin D. The problem with vitamin D is it's a fat soluble vitamin, and so you can actually overdose on it. So I've had a few patients come in with that mindset that if a little's good, a lot must be better. And so they're taking, the only time I've seen women take too much vitamin D is the ones that are taking 10,000 or more a day. That's when you can start getting into the trouble. The prescription strength vitamin D is 50,000 units per week. However, that's a prescription. So I wouldn't necessarily take 10,000 every day because that's 70,000 units a week, which is even more than the prescription strength. If you were going to take vitamin D, when I see a patient, if their vitamin D is low, I will usually start them around 5,000 units a day. That's after I see their labs. But you want to remember, because vitamin D is fat soluble, it stores in your fat. So you can actually take too much vitamin D. So you really want to be careful. About 95% of the women that I check a hormone panel on that come see me as a new patient are low in vitamin D across the board, or they're normal, but they're in the basement of normal. Usually we like to see the vitamin D around 60 to 80. The normal is is between usually 30 and 100. So most people come in around 32 to 35. Still a little bit low. I like to bump that up a little bit. So the last one, other than vitamin D, that would be a toss up. I think vitamin D is obviously super important, but if your vitamin D is great and you want to try something else, I'm a big fan of medicinal mushrooms, things like reishi, lion's mane, turkey tail. I'm a big fan of Super Feast. It's my favorite brand right now. I know Mason personally. I've done a podcast with Mason. He's a great guy. I like the way he runs his business, and I know that he makes a quality product. Currently, you can ask questions at any time, by the way. I'll answer those here in a second. I use reishi every day because it's good for the cardiovascular system, but they make an M8, Super Feast does, which has a little bit of all of the different kinds of mushrooms. But you can go to Mason's website at Superfeast and really read in depth about their products and the different effects of different mushrooms. So Lisa asked, or sorry, Liz, I went on D3, then was at 5,000 per day. What about D? Well, so the vitamin K2, and usually when I make a recommendation for vitamin D, I will make a recommendation for vitamin D with K2 because the K2 helps with the absorption of vitamin D. Some people, just like with a lot of things, they're not big absorbers of things, so they don't absorb it very well. So they could take a vitamin D and just not get much out of it. Any of you, there's 17 of you on right now. If you have any questions about supplements, I'm going through my top 5, and just to recap, Maca, a company called Feminescence, or the product is Feminescence. The company's called Symphony. Number 2 was omega-3 fatty acids, either fish oil from Nordic Naturals or algae oil from Orlo Nutrition. Number 3 was magnesium. Usually recommend magnesium glycinate. It's my favorite. Number 4 was dihydroberberine, which is a metabolite of berberine. Dihydroberberine to me is a great product, helps lower blood sugars, can help with weight, inflammation, lowers cholesterol. And then number 5 was a toss up between vitamin D or medicinal mushrooms that you can find at places like Superfeast. As always, this is a live, but you can chime in if you have a question. More than happy to answer those. I'll be here if you need me. Just like to do these down and dirties every once in a while, give you a lot of information in a short period of time. Hope you're having a great weekend. This is Dr. Tassone, author of the Hormone Balance Bible. You can check that out on Amazon. Take care.